So we're now into day 6 of what's been a really interesting New York Vendée race so far. The weather to the finish is still looking extremely challenging, and we can see that there's 4 groups that have now developed in the fleet. We've got Massif in the middle leading the fleet, Boris on Malizia Sea Explorer very far up in the north, taking a completely different strategy, and then 2 groups further behind, one north group and one south group. So we're going to take a look at the weather up to the finish and what the fleet are currently dealing with. So at the moment, this is the EC wind overlaid with the synoptic chart from the NOAA American model. And it's quite good to look at the features here that the fleet is sailing around. So this is the dominating high pressure that's really making it challenging to get to the finish. The wind is circulating like this around the high pressure, but there's lots of challenges associated with it. Firstly, up in the north for Boris, we can see that it's not a normal circular shape, it's extended like this, and that's because of the low pressure up in the north over here, and also the low pressure over here in the west that's sort of squeezing the high pressure and making it very light winds for the area that Boris is trying to cross it in here. Down in the south as well, we can see Massif is dealing with this occluded front, which is, firstly, it's giving him good wind at the moment, but later on we can see that the extension behind it is quite light winds, and that's going to be challenging for him to get to the finish. And then down in the south, we can see this southern group here sailing in this very small low pressure, which is helping them to sail quickly towards the east at the moment. But later on, they've got some light wind bunching here, so they're going to have to work out how to get north to the finish, which is going to be directly upwind for them here, which is going to be challenging. So if we have a look in 48 hours to see how that develops, so we can see that high pressure has moved slightly towards the east, which is making the route for Boris up in the north even longer. Once he does get to the eastern side of the high pressure, he's got this really nice northwesterly winds, which is going to take him to the finish, and he'll probably be the fastest in the fleet. Once he gets through this light wind area here, this is the real challenge for him, getting through this light wind. So we hope to see him get through that in the next 12 hours. And then for Massif as well, he's sailing in this, he's got to find a balance between this stronger wind accelerating off the coast of Portugal, but unfortunately it's a less good direction than further north, where he has a nice northerly wind which will allow him to sail fast towards the finish, as well as the southern group, who has got to basically tack directly upwind towards the finish. So we'll see these 3 kind of groups all line up almost perfect distance to the finish at some point, but certainly Boris in the north as well as Massif will be at a much better advantage compared to the south group, which is having to tack upwind. The north group have got a real challenge ahead. They've got to get around the high pressure. They're totally on the wrong side of it at the moment. So getting through, firstly, light winds through the center of the high pressure, but also the shifting wind around, circulating around the high pressure, is going to make it really difficult to sail directly to the finish. So if we have a look at what that means for the routings, so here we have Boris up in the north. He's hopefully going to be picking up that wind in the next few hours, and he'll have to sail even further north as well to pick up the good west flowing winds. And once he does that, it'll be a really tough few days jibing and trying to stay in this corridor of wind between the high pressure over here and the low pressure over here in the north. And eventually he'll start picking up the north wind and be able to point straight towards the finish and sail very fast. For Charlie here in the middle, he's got to get through this light patch here. This is probably going to be the hardest part of the routing. He's got to sail through lighter winds and not be able to get on the foils in order to find this north wind on the other side. But once he has that, he'll be able to sail very fast towards the finish as well. And for this group down here in the south, once they've sailed through the center of this low pressure, they're going to have to tack up north and try and find the best tack and the best route to take them to the finish. But what that means for the routings, it looks like Boris and Massif are both going to be finishing in fairly similar times. It's pretty hard to say exactly what time they finish because the weather's so changeable, but they're looking at 3 to 4 days, whereas the south and north group have still got 5 and 6 days ahead of them. So all to play for. It's looking very interesting, the different strategies, and we'll have to see which one pays off.